speaker. Our second speaker is the Chief Catalyst of Catalyst 360, a certified Gallup Strengths Coach and a certified Zig Ziglar Facilitator, in which he is also an Insights UK Facilitator. Let us all welcome one of the well-known columnists of the Philippine Star, Mr. Alex Araneta. A round of applause, everyone.
Hi, good morning. Give me a few minutes as I set up. Well, first and foremost is, well, as my name is, again, Alex Araneta, I'd like to announce to everybody that my name, my family name is High Net Worth. But as an individual, unfortunately, I wish I was also high net worth as well. No? In fact, my wife, who has been working for the Gokong Ways for like over 20 years, one day, Mr. John Gokongwei calls my wife and tells my wife, you know what? Her name is Elaine. And he goes, you know what? You look rich, but you're not. And then Mr. John goes, but me, I'm just rich. Okay, so what I'm going to share to you, because Henry asked me to speak on how managers create a high performance culture, no? And actually, when he mentioned that to me, my first question was, what in the world has this to do with this Congress, no? And so let me just share to you, hopefully this is something that will be able to add value to you. As in the introduction goes is, I am what you call a certified Gallup Strengths Coach. One of the things that I do among many is that I teach people on how to use their strengths and to maximize themselves in wherever they are. Gallup, if some of you are not familiar, is an organization that is primarily focused on people productivity and people engagement. And their premise is this: when people are engaged to their work, when they are using their strengths, that is when they are most highly performing and highly profitable as well. And so what I'll share to you is, okay, sorry about that. Sorry for a few minutes. Okay, anyway, while we're trying to figure out the PowerPoint, okay, what I want you to do is, first and foremost is this. Okay, what I want you to do now is, I want you to think of a successful person, okay? Think of a successful person on the top of your mind, aside from yourself, okay? Think of a successful person, okay? Is that person in your mind? Okay. Now, would you agree with me, as far as even experience and even knowledge, one of the things that successful person that you have in mind, would you agree with me that that person has what we call talent? Do you agree with me? Yes. So, in fact, if you will even think about it further, is more than anything itself, talent is even maybe the main driver of this person's success. Would you agree with me? Right? And so, this is one of the findings that Gallup as an organization has found when in terms of high-performing individuals and in a high-performing culture. That talent, in fact, trumps, as they say, experience and even knowledge, right? And so the first thing that I'd like to share to you is that high-performance individuals are able to invest a lot on their talent. Some of you might know the book, The Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. In fact, in that book of Malcolm Gladwell, The Outliers, he says this: when they researched all these successful people, they discovered that all these successful people invested a minimum of 10,000 hours to become great at what they do. So that's why, in fact, the question in that book goes, what is your 10,000-hour commitment to become great at what you do? But you first need to also identify specifically what is your talent, okay? And so let me just, sorry, there's no PowerPoint, but let me just ask you this, okay? Oh, there it goes. Okay, so let me ask you, okay? Let's try to see what your talent is, okay? In 2 seconds, in 2 minutes, let's ask you, okay? Stand up if you are the type of person who talks to people in elevators, whether in the supermarket, in the grocery, or in the mall. Can you please stand up if you're that type of person? Okay, there you go. Interesting. Okay, you can sit down. Okay, how about if you are the type of person who has a color-coded or otherwise organized closet? Ayan. Kailangan yung decolor at yung puti nakahiwalay. Okay, can you please stand up? Okay, there. Very good. Now, how about if you have the penchant to write down a things to do list and you make sure and you have to stick to it? Can you please stand up? Ayan, yan yung mga OC. Right? Mga OC po yan. And how about of this? Okay, today's a Saturday, right? So it's a weekend and you're the type of person you still, even in spite of it being a weekend, you still need to make a what? A list of things to do for the weekend. Can you please stand up? Ma'am, tayo kayo ng tayo kanina pa. I'm just kidding. Okay, di ba? Okay. This one, okay? This is interesting. How about, who are among you, you need to pick a race with somebody while driving? Ayan, you're the type of person, ayaw mong ma-overtaken. Right? Aba? O si Sir Rex. Yeah, I think so, sir. Okay? Okay, and how about, how many of you here are the type of person who asks too many questions? Okay, that's good. That's good. And for the final question is this. When you're in an elevator, are you the type of person who keeps on pushing the button just to remind the elevator that you're there? Okay, if you're that kind of person, can you stand up? Okay, there's a few already. Okay, if you stood up to any of those questions, guess what? You know what? You're weird. No, I'm just kidding. No. Whether you realize it or not, do you know that that actually is a talent? Yeah. So can you turn to your neighbor? Turn to your neighbor and tell your neighbor, may talent ka pala eh.
May talent pala tayo.
Okay? Let me give you a story. And this was a story narrated by a very great speaker, Sir Ken Robinson. Now, some of you may know him. But this is a true story of, her name is Dame Jillian Lynn. When she was a young girl, okay, her parents were so exasperated. Why? Because during that time, she had a very bad learning disability. So she was doing very badly in school. In fact, she took some tests already, and in fact, some of the doctors already told her that she was what you call, she had ADHD. Back then, even during our time, wala pang ADHD. So, pag sinabi mong ADHD, ang term po natin dyan is what? Medyo bobo. Ganon, no? But it was really ADHD. So anyway, so one day, the parents went to see the doctor. And the parents said, you know, this is the problem of her daughter. And she, you know, she's really has a learning disability and we don't know anymore what to do. And so the doctor tried to take some more tests, and after the test was about to conclude that what the parents were figuring out were actually correct. But just then and then, the doctor decided to turn on the radio. And when the radio music went on, the little girl at that time started to what? Started to tap her feet and started to move her body, right? And she started to dance. And so the doctor said to the parents, you know what? Your daughter, there's nothing wrong with her. She has a gift for dancing. Why don't you try and explore now that talent? And so they did. They enrolled her in dancing school. And as they say, you know, the rest is history. Her name is Dame Jillian Lynn. She is a prima ballerina. She is the person responsible for what? Doing the choreography of world-famous plays such as Cats, Phantom of the Opera. She's an Olivier awardee. That's the Oscars of the plays, stage plays, right? And in the US, she is in the UK, she is a high net worth individual because she is a millionaire many times over. All because of what? All because of she was able to discover her talent and invest in it, right? 100-fold. So, let's put it now into perspective with you guys as registered financial planners. Okay, so we all know that what do you need to be a successful registered financial planner? Can you give me some answers? Of course, you need to know what? You need to know what? You need to have knowledge on the different financial instruments, correct? Right? You need to also understand the market. Is that correct? But would you agree with me also is this? There are certain talents that will make you, how do you say it? Set you up to be just not a registered financial planner, but a what? A higher level or a high-performing registered financial planner. What do I mean? So like example, Gallup has identified what we call 34 types of strengths. Every individual, and when we say strength or talent, that is how you think, how you feel, how you behave. These are the filters that direct all your decisions and actions. Every individual has at least, well, by ranking, but there are always, they say, at least top 5, what we call strengths or talents that you use. Let me give you an example. So if you're a registered, if I'm a registered financial planner, and I have, let's say, what we call a talent that is woo. Okay, can you say that with me? Woo. What is woo? Woo is defined as this, is somebody that is able to highly influence people. They are the types of people, they meet a stranger, they're able to immediately connect with that person, and they're able to win that person over to whatever they want or whatever they're trying to say. That is a talent. Do you agree with me? Not many people have that. So right there and then, you are already at what we call at a certain disadvantage or advantage, depending on the talent. Now, some people have what we call a strategic talent. What is a strategic talent? These are people who are able now to spot opportunities. Whereas other people will not see anything. These people are able to see beyond what other people are able to decide, no? And that is what we call a strategic talent. Some people have what we call a communication talent. What is a communication talent? These are people who are able to put their thoughts into the right word. They're able to put their thoughts into the right set of words and communication so that, again, what? They are able to express very clearly and very persuasively what they need to express to whoever they're talking to. So these are certain talents. When you are aware of them, then you can become now what we call intentional in terms of directing them to help you. So as I said, there are 34 talents. It's very small, but if you want to know more, we have a booth over there and we can explain it to you. And usually your 34 talents, these 34 talents, is what we now go is spread over what we call 4 domains. So some of your talents are excellent in what we call strategic thinking. Thinking out of the box, spotting opportunities. Some of you are very good in relationship building. Right? So you're able to what? Build trust with your customer or with your client. Some of you are very good in influencing. You're able to persuade them to see it your way. While others are very good in executing. Right? So, by taking a test, which is, I don't know if you've heard of the book Strengths Finder. Okay, some of you may know that book. By taking the test, you will now have what we call a crack code. So for you to be able now to discover what your talents are, and then people like me actually can help you how to direct those talents so that you can become great at whatever you're doing based on those talents that you have. Now, high-performance managers or managers also understand that a high-performance culture doesn't necessarily only just need talent. It doesn't necessarily only require investing in that talent, but even more importantly again, is that what? You need to place your talent in an environment where what? You can flourish. Because if you're in a place where you're not exactly, you cannot exercise your talent, then what happens? You become exasperated, you don't become what we call productive. So, to follow suit, Warren Buffett is a very good example again. And let me quote this. This is, I lifted this from the website, and let me read it. It says here, talented managers who run Buffett's companies remain with him because, look at this, he keeps them engaged in their jobs. In Buffett's own words, Charlie, or for Charlie Munger, Buffett's longtime business partner, and I mainly attend to what? Capital allocation and the care and feeding of our key managers. Most of our managers are independently wealthy, and it's up to us to create a climate that encourages them to choose working with Berkshire over golfing or fishing, right? So how do we know? Again, there is another survey that we take, and a lot of organizations, organizations such as Facebook, organizations such as Accenture, Johnson & Johnson, Best Buy in the US, they all take this survey, which we call it the Q12 survey. And this Q12 survey basically, everybody who takes this test basically answers 12 questions. And when you are able to answer those 12 questions on a scale of 1 to 5 high, chances are this person is highly engaged. And if that person is highly engaged, that person is most probably highly productive, right? And look at this. You can't see it, but one of the questions is this. The first question it reads there is, I know what is expected of me at work. In other words, is it very clear on what you are supposed to do? The third question is this. It reads there is, at work I have the opportunity to do what I do best every day. Let me ask you this. Have you tried to answer that question for yourself? Do you have the opportunity to do your best every day? If your answer is yes, then most probably is precisely, you are using your talents exactly where you are right now. But if you cannot answer that question with a resounding yes, then chances are maybe your talent is not where you should be. Maybe your talent should be where? Elsewhere. Or maybe, precisely, you haven't discovered exactly what your talent is and how to use it to its full hilt, right? And that's why you don't feel like you're doing your best every day. And the third reason now that high-performance managers, what they do to create a high-performance culture is this, is they emphasize increasing performance. And I put there a picture of what we call the scoreboard, right? Now, when you were young, everybody, when you played sports, there was always a scoreboard, correct? And what does a scoreboard do for you? It tells you whether you're winning or you're losing. It also tells you whether you need to what? Level up, or if you're doing just right, correct? So a scoreboard is very important. And high-performance managers understand that a scoreboard is very critical and that people need to see a scoreboard. So in fact, I would suggest even in your respective business, you have to have your own personal scoreboard, right? How many here has like a scoreboard that you keep track? Okay, so some of you have. But you know, can I go further? That scoreboard, it's good if it's in your laptop. It's good if it's in a piece of paper. But you know what? May I encourage you, you put that where? Somewhere that you can see it every day. Why? Because when you can see it visually, it creates more what? It creates you more motivation. It spurs you to do more action, right? And it gets you up more. So I encourage you to do that, because that's what performance managers do. In fact, what they use is this. What they do is this. They have what we call a merit-based system to differentiate between what we call high and low performers. In other words, what they believe in is very simple. You don't incentivize people based on longevity in the company. You don't incentivize people just because they're your friends, but rather what? You incentivize or you reward based on performance, right? The next thing that they do is they have very clearly defined standards and expectations at the individual, team, departmental, and what we call organization level. In other words, how do you know if you're doing well? Very simple. You create now specific measurements. And you know, what I encourage is, oftentimes is you don't have to get this highfalutin, what we call scorecards. You can do your own scorecard, right? Similarly, when you were young and you were just playing in school, right? Or in the backyard, you will have your own scoring system. That's fine. You create your own scoreboard or your own scorecard that works perfectly for you. And then lastly is they develop what we call transparent reward systems. In other words, the reward system is what? Transparent, evident, everybody knows about it. Okay. So, this is actually last slide. This is a very short presentation. We only had 30 minutes, but let me just share to you maybe a personal testimony on how you can use now your talents to achieve whatever you wish to do, okay? There is one talent that we call competition, okay? And what is competition? Competition is this. You always want to do better than the other person. How many do you think has that? You always want to do better than the other person. Can you raise your hands? Fantastic, okay? Fantastic. So, sometimes what can happen is this, no? It can work against you, right? Why? Because you become too competitive, and then what happens? When that somebody does something better than you, it can drive you crazy, correct? Do you agree? Okay. Now, what you can do is very simple, is this. Competition doesn't have to be against somebody else. What you can do is what? You set your own benchmarks. See? And you compete against those benchmarks that you set. So that is a very basic way of using your talent to achieve whatever that you have. Who here has, okay, let me just share to you another one. And this might be relevant now to even what you do. We have what we call, another talent that we have is what we call empathy. Empathy is what? Being able to see the other person's side, right? How many has that, do you think? You're able to put yourself in the other person's shoes. That is a very, very what? Good talent, especially when you're dealing with who? Your clients or customers, right? Why? Because you're able now to communicate to them, you're able to demonstrate to them that you're not only there just for their money, but rather what? You're after their own welfare, and that you're able, your desire is to be able to what? To really help them improve themselves. Right? Now, empathy also now can work, as we say, in the negative. That's the positive, but it can work in the negative. You know how? Is this. You become so absorbed so absorbed with your customer or your client that what happens? You don't anymore think of yourself. Right? And what happens is you lose out. See? You give so much of yourself to the advantage of your client, but to the detriment of yourself. Which is now, of course, not good. Right? So what we call that, your talents or your strengths can be in what we call your balcony and basements. And if you go through a workshop or a coaching session, we'll be able to share that to you. So this is the last slide, and this is the program that we have. I have a program, sorry, konting plugging lang. It's on November 13th. If anybody wants to register, we have a booth right there. It's called Harnessing Your Strengths, right? And we'd like to invite you to attend that. But let me close now with a story, right? So somebody died, right? And this person went up to heaven, and St. Peter met this person, okay? And this person asked St. Peter, said, St. Peter, who do you think is the greatest registered financial planner in the whole world? Okay? And then St. Peter said, okay, he pointed to that guy over there, maybe a few meters away. And then he goes, you see that person over there? That is the greatest registered financial planner in the whole world. And the guy said, teka muna, kilala ko yan eh, kapitbahay ko yan eh. Tumatambay lang yan dyan eh. So how can he be the greatest registered financial planner in the whole world? And then St. Peter answered him, very simple. If that person so decided to use his talent to be a registered financial planner, he would have become the greatest registered financial planner in the whole world, right? So let me close with just ask everybody. I do this usually in our workshops, and I think it was done previously in the morning. Everybody, can you raise your right hand? Tap the shoulder of the person on your right and tell that person, use your talent.
Use your talent.
Okay, raise your left hand and tap the shoulder of the person on your left and say, what's your talent ba?
What's your talent ba?
Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Araneta, for the great presentation. And now I am so excited to present to you our